Hi there, I'm Charlie Gracie. I'm the Scriever for 2020 for the Federation of Writers in Scotland. And I judged the 20 Words for 2020 competition. And one of the winners of that, one of the 6 winners, was Laura Fyfe, who's sitting here. Laura's a writer, a publisher, and a workshop facilitator. And it's one of the strange things of judging things blind, that you sometimes find a friend among the winners. And Laura and I are also board members of the Scottish Writers' Centre, so we have a lot of shared interest. So welcome, Laura.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for inviting me along to the video session.
Yeah, it was great. It was great reading your story. So I suppose the first thing I'd like you to do is to read The Fall, I think is the title of it. So if you read it out for us, please.
Okay. The Fall. She lifts her son to her shoulders. They watch a helicopter whirring low over the river. Downstream, a body drifts.
Good stuff. Thank you.
That's it.
So you managed to squeeze drama, narrative into these 20 words, 3 short sentences. That was good. So what was behind The Fall?
It was based on a very dramatic morning when just towards the beginning of lockdown, and we all woke up in the house at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I woke up from a dream that was in sort of apocalypse now. It was just the sound of this helicopter overhead, and it was a police helicopter that was searching. We've got the Forth is right behind the house, and between us and the house, or between us and the river, are a lot of fields as well. So there were police out there, and the police helicopter up and down, looking up and down the river. And of course, you can imagine lots of stories going about the local community about what had gone on and what it all was. And so you're worried about it, but when you've got a 5-year-old there, and you've not slept since 4 o'clock that morning because you're wondering what's going on, you make a bit of fun of it as well. So you're standing there watching, oh, look at the helicopter, and are looking for Nessie and all these sorts of things, but you know that there's been something more serious behind that. And there's neighbours, you can see up and down the gardens, and there's neighbours that have been out and they've been wondering, and you're on the WhatsApp group wondering what's going on. So and it turned out it was a very sad story. It was a young student who had gone for a walk down the river and had fallen into the river. So I think he was found, his body was found down by Kincardine Bridge a few days later. So it was a very sad story. Yeah,
it was a sad story. And what you made of that, Laura, was... I mean, I wouldn't have known that, even though I stay near Stirling as well. I didn't think initially of that being a real story from the back of your house. Recently, I had thought about people escaping conflicts elsewhere. That was where my mind went.
I think that's what I love about short stories, and flash fiction in particular. It's not so much about what's in that story, and I loved it was such a good idea, Charlie, to do the 20-word short story, because I love flash fiction. It's not something I often write, but the 20 words, it was really fun to hone down what was about 200 words down into the 20 and get to what was at the heart of that. And when you do that, you realise just the story in a short story or a literary short story, I don't think is what's in the words, it's in what's around the words. And when I did the MLit at Stirling, the tutor at the time, Megan Delahunt, her advice was it's about what's on the margins in a short story and about what the reader brings to that. So you need to leave room for the reader. So it's interesting to hear what your take would be on it.
Yeah, that's and very much because what I focused on was the first line of the mother lifting the son onto her shoulders. And so my imagination went to somebody crossing the river, protecting their son from the river. That's where my mind went to. So it is interesting how, as you say, lots and lots of space round about that. that didn't resonate with me personally in any way at all, because I've not experienced that. But in terms of your understanding what happens in the world, and here it was
Context makes so much, doesn't it? It means context makes such a difference.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to hear what you're saying, because that's where somebody else's tragedy kind of touched your family very lightly, but still touched them, and some of the anxiety about how we protect our own children, our own family, is in that first sentence, I think.
Exactly.
She lifted us onto her shoulders.
Yeah, I was very much sympathising about, that this was me and my son were watching this helicopter, and I was thinking about this, especially when we found out what had happened. That's another mother's son, and what had happened there.
Yeah, well, there's a lot in there, and the sense of movement as well. From the whirring helicopter to the stream of the river and the drift of your person.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, a lot of movement in the lift, the helicopter whirring, and the drift. So it's a very mobile 3 sentences. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good. So you're a very busy writer, and I know from chatting to you earlier that you're going back to school tomorrow to teach, and so that's a busy life. And I know you do other things like the Scottish Writer Centre board. So what are you working on currently? What's your project just now, writing wise?
Project, well, it's been interesting the last 5 years, I would say, being a mum, and just how that changes your writing. I've written a lot more poetry. I think it's I've not had the stamina so much for novel writing, but at the moment I'm going back to writing what's basically my 4th novel. And I think I've written 3 novels, or played about with 3 novels before now, and now this is me going really focused. So now that my wee boy's back at school, that's my writing is very much about that. And I think lockdown, it's about a woman who'd been in a Buddhist retreat for a week, and it changed her life. So something a bit different for me anyway, though it's based on personal experience. But so I've got that, and one thing on lockdown that I really enjoyed was doing the workshops. So I did the little mini workshops live on Facebook each morning, and it was mainly so that I could keep in touch with my own writing every day. I knew if I was doing that for other people, I would do it for myself as well. But that sense of community was lovely. Mm-hmm. So that's my other thing that I'm going to take positive, that I'm going to take from lockdown, is heading back into doing more creative writing workshops for people round about Stirling, and nationally as well, or internationally if I do them on Zoom.
Yeah. And I know that's something you've been doing for years through Figment Creativity.
Yeah.
So that's good. One of the things that Laura, will talk to the viewer now, that Laura's been involved in through the Scottish Writer Centre is the production, leading the production of the chapbooks. This is the first one. The others are in various stages of progress. Some are just dreams at this stage, but so this is the first of 5, which Laura has been centrally involved in. So that's been a good project, and this is a thing of beauty. Lots of well-known names in this, Laura, as well. So
yeah, it's been a joy to do. I've thoroughly enjoyed helping to pull that together with writers across Scotland. It was the second chapbook. We did the editing of the second chapbook during lockdown as well, and it reminded me what a lovely thing it is to connect in with people through writing. So I was reading writing by people across Scotland, about Scotland, and all these communities in Scotland. That it's city, town and village, the next one. So I was reading about all these towns and villages and cities that either I'd been to or that I would love to go and visit, as well as reading the words of friends. So that power of literature and the written word to connect with people was just, it was a lovely stage in lockdown, doing all that.
Yeah, well, that's good. And I'm just looking at I've read this already, but I was just reminding myself in the back page, the list of names, and a fair few people here who I know are members of the Federation of Writers as well. So that's nice to see the Federation represented.
I've got mine right here too.
There you are. So Yeah, that's good.
We've got this little bit at the back, and on the launch night, I got everybody to sign it who turned up.
Oh, there you
So
are.
we've got that lovely little transparent sheet.
Yeah, that's
so that was a lovely touch from our typesetter to do that. A great idea.
Yeah, well, you're ahead of me. Mine's blank.
It's one of those things, you can see it, it's almost like, remember you used to go around and collect signatures from famous people?
Yeah.
You keep a hold of that with you whenever you go to a Fed event, when the Federation starts doing events again in person, and when the Scottish Writers' Centre start doing events again, you just keep it with you and gradually collect all the signatures.
Yeah.
It's my ambition.
You were saying thanks for putting this together, the 20 Words for 2020, and it really was a collaborative thinking process with Caroline Johnson and Jennifer Harley. So again, that's how the Federation works, very much as a collaborative effort. So
it's a fantastic team. Stuff that the Fed does is brilliant.
Yeah.
And then Finola as well, of course, is the maker. So.
Yes, well, it's been great too. And I see she's gearing up for online workshop in the near future. Yeah. So that'll be good stuff. Is that your cat in the background?
Yes, Sassy. I'll be with you shortly.
Good stuff.
Not get attention for 5 minutes.
Yeah. So what are you writing today, Laura? What are you doing today?
What am I writing today? I'm writing a project proposal for creative writing workshops.
Oh, good.
And I've enjoyed. What is it? Shush! On you go. So the joys of doing a Zoom call from home.
Yeah, no, it's great.
So I've got a project proposal I'm finishing up, but then in terms of the fun stuff, I've actually really enjoyed going back over the fall and reading back over that. So I might go over one or two of my little short story seeds.
Right.
It's you do a lot of different writing as well. I know that you do short stories as well as poetry and your novel writing as well, Charlie. So it's an interesting thing as a writer, I think, to be pulled in different directions. It doesn't always mean the best thing for your productivity.
No, but it's all progressing work, isn't it?
It is, and I think it's really good particularly for a creative writing workshop facilitator, because you know a little bit, you build up your knowledge of lots of different aspects of writing. So I'm going to have a wee go. That same morning, I got the idea for that. Do you find that some of your ideas come, I hear this from a lot of writers, come when you're dropping off to sleep? So you keep a wee notebook by the side of the bed.
Yeah, very much.
This one came in the morning when I get very few lie-ins. So I got a lie-in one weekend morning, and that was when the words for this started sort of forming, and I was tripping over them a little bit in my head. And then there was another one that came up about the same sort of time. So I'll maybe go back to that seed and see what I can.
And it's really important to get them down, isn't it?
Yeah.
To get them down on paper as soon as possible, even a jumble of words. I quite often text myself things or use notes in the phone to do that.
Oh yeah, I've got so many
ideas. So
it's get them down straight away. It's what I write about in Magpie Mind. It's my second book. It's that idea of taking those wee glimmers of inspiration and write them down as soon as you can, but then use them. Have you found that you've gone back over your notes and it's maybe one that you've taken a couple of months ago or something you didn't have the chance to write about?
And sometimes you forget the thing because it's done in the middle of the night or
and you either forget what your inspiration was or you lose that energy. So it's trying to write it down as soon as you can.
There's something really important about the rawness of the immediate idea or the immediate phrase. And if you don't, I think you can have the concept of something.
Yeah.
But if you don't get down the rawness of the words, then you maybe lose some of the energy that the idea has almost. Because
it's that
come to you in that form of
you need.
I think that's a kind of poetic kind of instinct as well, to get the raw words down, because they're the thing that really matter, and you can build.
It's like riding a wave. That wave comes and so you just if you ride it into shore rather than otherwise you lose the.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what the feeling was like in that wave that I rode a few months ago. That's not quite the same as I'm on a wave now. It's a good feeling. No, good stuff, Laura. So thanks very much, and thank you for a really it was a moving story anyway. It was a really moving story as it was. The place it took me, and the whole kind of protective thing that the mother was doing for the child, and the risk, the jeopardy, and it was just enormous. And even though the inspiration for that was was different. You've certainly captured something of the kind of fragility of human life very much, and that sadly is,
Thank
you know, that's really reflected in this.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. If it wasn't for these opportunities, I think sometimes we wouldn't have, again, that initial, it's good to have that deadline, isn't it? Or it's good to have something to aim your writing towards, can really help.
And I think that's a really positive thing about what the Federation's been doing, so that helps.
It's been really good.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Charlie.
All the best. Bye-bye.
You too.